Thank you for clicking It's Starting Now.
I think fans will just be excited at every turn in the story because it's different, it's unpredictable. So I think you'll be on the edge of your seat.
People still want to believe that there's magic in the world. They want to believe that there's more to the world than meets their eyes. And our IP is all about that. We really believe that audiences, they want more. If you can experience a story through multiple mediums, you get so many different takes on a similar theme or on a character that you love.
It was really the idea that each media, even if they are part of the same universe, they have a beginning, a end, they have a story that makes sense.
The universe of the Unknown Nine turns around these 9 immortal figures who are the guardians of all knowledge. They come from an ancient civilization that was more advanced than our own, who has been lost to time. We have the Leap Year Society, who are this benevolent secret society of adventurers and academics and intelligent people who we call questers. They're looking for the Unknown Nine. And they are searching for the realm very connected to the Unknown Nine called the Fold.
It's a dimension where there's no rules. So the rules that you know, so gravity or any other rules that we are governed by, does not exist. There's no past, there's no future, there's no present.
That is a plane of great power where all of human history and all of human knowledge is encoded.
The Fold had this sort of undulating feel. You know, when you roll down the window of a car on the highway in the back and you have that pressure sound, like boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, that is not just a sound, it's kind of sound feeling. It's really powerful.
Against the OIS, you have sort of their darker, more ruthless counterparts, the Ascendants. And they're after the same thing that the OIS are, and too often clash. We've got all those narrative elements that all fit within the various products, and together they're telling one overarching meta-narrative. We have Awakening, our video game. It's the centerpiece of our transmedia universe right now. It's the most immersive, most accessible, and amazing way into the universe. The video game is also maybe the best first step into the universe, because chronologically it takes place before all the others. Sometimes I think of Awakening as like our core experience because it is the best way for audiences to experience the Fold. You really get to dive into it and experience it in a really immersive medium.
Haruna, what happened?
We were lucky enough to be able to cast Anya Charlotra for the game, and she was an important part for us and with us to be involved in the story and help us nail down some important details.
I've always wanted to do motion capture, and the fact that I've, been able to step into this character and do what I thought I'd love and absolutely love and kind of relish it has just been brilliant.
The character of Haruna is very strong. She's very powerful. She's very believable.
Haruna has supernatural abilities, and she goes on kind of incredibly complex journey of finding out how strong she actually is.
She's a bit special in the sense she has a connection to the Fold from which she gets some power.
That's part of the progressions of the character as well, is to understand more how that dimension affects the real world.
When she gets out of it, she kind of gets these abilities with her bracers, which brings magic to her moves. Especially for the fighting system, she's going to project herself as you can project in the Fold.
We also created a systems which we call the steppings. It's the main aspect of the game. So basically here, what we want is the player to be able, through the Fold, Haruna can control other enemies. And by doing that, she can use the enemies against the enemies. So there, the player has a huge playground of different options they can play with to resolve the situations. To support the narrative of the game and our journey through the world, we had to craft a lot of different locations for that. Visually, we wanted to be really impressive, we wanted really for the players to feel that they are there. So with both the level art aspect of the locations, but also the audio aspect around it.
Starting a new IP on the audio side been super fun. The idea of like, okay, here's this 2 universes because we get to flip in 2 different worlds. What does it sound like? We have a music technology. It's based on distance. So you don't really feel trigger points. You feel more of just like a smooth orchestral sort of cinematic experience.
One of the biggest challenges on this project was learning how to best portray the truth of a character when you're in the volume, which is the space at which we work. I'd never played a video game character before, I'd never done motion capture, so it was just about understanding how to play the subtlety.
This space here at Imaginarium, it just encourages a sense of play.
It's a really creative atmosphere, and because it makes all the actors feel free to fail and free to take risks.
I felt like I was my most freest, and I really loved working with each and every actor.
I believe the game has a lot to offer. I believe it will be interesting to the player that loves strictly narrative and lore, as well as players that are looking for challenge within a fighting game.
I think the players should be excited about this game, but also specifically for the universe itself. And the game is a really good way to experience it, see what it is, see what it can bring, and see the excitement out of it.
The video game might be like our central product right now, but it's just one of the many products that we have in our first cycle of products. There's so many different ways into this universe. Every product is an entry point. Every product has its own self-contained story. Honestly, the more you consume, the deeper your experience of each one is going to be. You see like a character that you know from, say, a podcast. You only know their voice, right? But you know all the biographical details. You have this whole story attached to them. When you finally see them like in a video or in a comic book, there's like this little moment of magic where it's like, oh, I'm meeting this person that I thought I knew already.
There's something on board this ship that is causing these strange events. Man driven mad.
Passage is our web series. It's the most close thing that we have to a sequel for Awakening.
2 years after the events of the video game, we find ourselves on a boat crossing the Atlantic Ocean, carrying a very precious piece of cargo that is causing very unintended consequences for the crew and the inhabitants of the boat.
It's been crazy because we're filming on an actual boat that's on the actual water. It's a physical challenge, especially when you're in that engine room and there is no windows.
That very thing that it's cramped is also why the shots work really well and it feels very claustrophobic, and I feel like that's really going to contribute to the feeling of everything.
It's starting for you. What's starting for me?
I know each and every person that has signed up for this project is here because they wanted something that was unique. They wanted to be a part of something that was totally different.
If you're a viewer who really enjoys like a script and a piece of media that trusts your intelligence, that's something you can look forward to.
The Genesis trilogy sees our protagonist, Andy, who's a young PhD astrophysics student, following this trail of clues left behind by her mentor who has disappeared. It takes her through history of human knowledge, of scientific discovery, takes her around the world. Meanwhile, she's being chased by some very dangerous people.
Most of us have at least one weird experience.
Out of Sight podcast. It's about a pair of paranormal investigators who have really interesting paranormal pasts of their own. Along the way, they kind of get mixed up with the Leap Year Society, who are kind of like the big leagues of the paranormal world.
What's interesting about Jessica Kincaid's writing is that she's able to create those very interesting characters that you can relate to.
She understands that in audio drama you can go anywhere, and it's the most magical, scary, supernaturally brilliant piece of writing.
So for Out of Sight Season 2 and Season 3, we recorded 70 actors.
It is so cool recording with all these different actors who are literally all over the world.
And then the people who come in who are in New York, and that's amazing. And the people that we've been able to actually record with in person around this binaural mic.
It looks like a human head. It's got ears, so you can make really on-the-fly decisions about where you want the listener to be in the 3D space of the world of the show.
We've got Torment, which is a 12-issue comic series. It focuses on a character, Jaden, who all his life he's been touched by the fold, but doesn't really know it until one day he hears about the Leap Year Society and his whole life suddenly makes sense.
Dr. Wayland Taylor, April 12th, 1975.
And finally, we've got our web series, The Taylor Files. The Taylor Files takes place in 1975. It's the end of the Vietnam War era. The CIA has been infiltrated by the Descendants, and they are in the area engaged in a psychic arms race against the KGB. So they're trying to collect all the people with special abilities that they can.
I think that this is really setting the stage for where this story is going.
The advantage of a web series over a traditional TV series is flexibility. You can show things in a web series that might not pass the muster of the studio or be within the audience's expectations on TV. So you can be creative, you can push boundaries.
You know, heavily inspired by things like David Lynch and by comic books and all over the place, lots of inspiration. We came up with some really, really fun and interesting visual ideas.
A big part of our narrative universe are people that are called questers. They value knowledge, they value learning, they value adventure, right? And we feel like the stories that we're telling are really going to resonate with people who have those same values. And so we encourage our fans to think of themselves and call themselves questers.
Anyone can become active. Everyone can look for who are the 9 because they are hidden around us, right?
I think once audiences understand and see what we're doing, they will believe in the unknown.